Hello, dear friends of God, fellow Christians, dear friends, all children of light, indigenous peoples trapped in Nigeria, and all freedom fighters, all those who want Nigeria to be brought down so that the children of God will all arise and be free. We still remain in prayer. Together, we shall all be triumphant over this prison, over this fraud that has continuously sacrificed our happiness without our consent, that has by force, forcefully taken all that belongs to us, our destinies, and all that we can become collectively. May God continue to protect us and guide us towards the truth in order to be free. May God continue to heal us. May God continue to protect us against all enemies, seen and unseen, especially the unseen ones. May God continue to protect us against betrayers and backstabbers and people who work softly among us for the enemy. Amen. Now, I would like us to ask a fundamental question. Who wants Nigeria together by any means necessary? Who wants Nigeria to continue to advance the way it is without any discussion, without minding the number of people who are dying every day, without even caring to look at the figures to see that it is not working, that they must keep Nigeria one by any means necessary? Top on the list we know are the Fulanis, especially the elite among them, because we understand that there are also some of them who are really suffering. But why should the Fulani be kneeling on our neck, all of us, and so much so that we can no longer breathe, and they are not prepared to let go? Instead, every day we see them tightening their grip on Nigeria. And one of the means of tightening their grip on Nigeria is the subjugation of Christians in the mainstream of Biafrans. They have tried in the Northeast. In fact, in some part of the North, especially in the Northeast, destroyed churches, destroyed lives. They have tried in the Middle Belt. They have taken over large territories and all that. Christians have been massacred and their territories overtaken. Priests, Christians, everybody there. In most cases, communities have been sacked. So many people are now IDPs, staying in camps, unsafe, unsure of what tomorrow is going to be. And now they are in the heart of Christianity itself, as Christianity with respect to Nigeria. Because when we talk about it, it does appear as if we are just telling lies or no, but this is the truth. And I understand sometimes our brothers and sisters in the faith in other parts of Nigeria do not like us speaking about the breakup of Nigeria because they are afraid of becoming minorities as soon as Nigeria gets broken up. But I assure you, that is not so. The first thing you must demand is for a census. And that's why some people seem to be in a hurry to deplete the number of Christians in Nigeria. And the only thing giving them the assurance and ensuring that they do these things without being held accountable is the name and actually the existence of the geographical space and the flood called Nigeria. So why does the Fulani want Nigeria together by any means necessary? I want you to listen to this. This is very important, and you are going to be enlightened by this. This was in Mali, and this was just last year. The journalist, the Al Jazeera journalist, went to interview one of the chieftains, of the Fulani chieftains in Mali, and was asking him, what was the problem between the Fulani and the Dogon? The Dogon is accusing the Fulani of stoking problems. The Fulanis are accusing the Dogon of stoking problems. Listen to this Fulani chief, and you will begin to understand that these people are becoming even aware that they are trouble. They don't understand what's happening to them. So sometimes they may even have become victims without even knowing it. Let's listen.
Mohammed Diko is a Fulani and a powerful leader of the High Islamic Council. The Dogons accuse the Fulanis for being behind the attacks. The Fulanis accuse the Dogons behind the other attacks. Now, these two communities have lived side by side for centuries. How do you explain this mistrust?
Moi, je suis convaincu qu'il y a d'autres forces invisibles, obscures, qui sont en train de... Il y a un plan pour déstabiliser toute la sous-région. Et pour réussir cette déstabilisation, l'ethnie et la race la plus nombreuse de la sous-région, c'est bien les peuples. Donc il faut créer une situation de guerre communautaire entre les peuples et les différentes ethnies. Sinon, ce serait bizarre qu'il y ait un problème entre les peuples et les Dogons au Mali, entre les peuples et les autres au Burkina, entre les peuples et les autres au Niger, entre les peuples. C'est toujours les peuples et les autres. Il y a quelque chose qui ne va pas.
So I want you to be reading the subtitle.
Moi, je dis de nous laisser les Sahéliens entre nous. Nous sommes des frères. Nous avons vécu ensemble pendant des millénaires. Nous avons un mécanisme pour régler des choses entre nous. Si on nous laisse nous-mêmes, nous allons trouver une solution à ce problème.
Okay, so let me just rephrase, or rather, let me read what he just said, because there's a subtitle. He was speaking in French that I understand just a little, but there is also a subtitle, luckily. So let us read it for the privilege of the
Is a Fulani and a powerful leader of the High Islamic Council. The Dogons accuse the Fulanis for being behind the attacks. The Fulanis accuse the Dogons behind the other attacks. Now, these two communities have lived side by side for centuries. How do you explain this mistrust?
I am convinced that there are other invisible, obscure forces that are planning to destabilize the entire sub-region. And to succeed in this destabilization, it is necessary to create a war between the different ethnic groups. Otherwise, it seems bizarre why there is a problem between the Fulanis and the Dogon, between the Fulanis and others in Burkina, between the Fulanis and others in Niger, between the Fulanis. It is always the Fulanis and the others. There is something wrong. I say to leave us alone, to leave the Sahelians between us. We are brothers. We have lived together for millennia. We have a mechanism to settle things between us. If we are left alone, we ourselves will find a solution to this problem. Okay, so you get the picture of what we are trying to establish. So the Fulani understand that they have a problem of not living very well with, first of all, people who became their hosts in the first place because they are wanderers, people who accepted them within the community, and eventually they multiply and become a community. And then they turn against the host. They become a problem. And usually you understand, just take this and import to Nigerian situation. There is always the problem between the Fulani and other ethnic groups. First of all, it was the conquering and the subjugation of the Hausa kingdom under the guise of purifying Islam, accusing the Hausa kings of idolatry and other impurities in the Islamic religion. And now in Nigeria, the mantra is corruption. Corruption everywhere. I remember once the Kaduna governor, now the present Kaduna governor, was saying that they are less corrupt than other people from the other parts of the country. So it is continuing. And remember, this whatever president, this so-called president, the absentee president that we have now in Nigeria, always talk about corruption. And he mentioned that somebody like Sani Abacha, he nearly canonized Sani Abacha, and yet every year they continue to recover stolen goods. And they have continuously tried to change the narrative about these loots. Remember what the wife said, the wife of Sani Abacha said, that they can never be poor. He even said Dangote had no money. You can imagine what was she talking about. And now when you begin to see the amount of money being recovered and remitted, you can appreciate what's going on. And look at Nigeria is completely the picture we have here. So if you understand that you are a pawn to destabilize the whole region, and you find out that you are the common factor in all of these situations, does it not show that something is fundamentally wrong with these people? I mean, everyone has got their issues, every tribe, every nationality, yes. But when you are picked out as the main factor to destabilize the whole region, then there is something wrong. And part of the something wrong is these people don't even understand their identity. They think they are European sometimes, they think they are Arabs sometimes, but one thing they never think, that they always take refuge to in order to confuse the rest of Africans, is to say that they are also Africans, but they are not. They are not. They are really not. At least not in the soul. They believe they are not. And that's why they believe they are always superior. And they have perfected the art of stooping to conquer. They come like they don't know anything. They come like they are bereft of all kinds of ideas, that they are never interested in the affairs in the society. They come simply with no property, like they own nothing apart from their animals, the cows, that has become part of their families, and which they value more than human lives, especially in Nigeria. And so you see, when you give them a room, when you give them a step, they take a yard. When you give them a yard, they take a room. When you give them a room, they take a whole country. Like they have now taken Nigeria. Elsewhere, they weren't so bold like this. But now they will give threats, and the next day you will see a face pointed or pinned to that threat. How many threats have we not seen? They give quick notice to a whole nationality, to Biafrans. And then again, and they owned up to it. Eventually they retracted. And then again they said the Fulani will rule Nigeria. The face came to that to say it. And always, it has always been deny. You make the proclamation, the next day you deny. And when you see this, let us not just go into all of that, but when you see that they understand that somebody is using them, so this is what they do. They are perfect masters in this game, in this chase game. Like the Kogi governor said, let us stop playing this game. This is what they always do. They know, like in Dubai we say that we are lying to the people. They tell you this so that you think, they are telling the truth now, and you stay to listen to them. And then they veer off again, doing exactly what they intended to do. Because they have no intention of helping you in any way. Their intention is always to make you their stooge, to always make you their slave, because they don't believe you are equal with them. And right now, the only people standing on their way are Biafrans, who, fortunately also, are in majority Christians. So you understand what's going on. They come test the waters and shake up things. When nobody talks, then they return in their numbers. You heard this man. He said somebody is using them to destabilize the region. But this is exactly what happened with Lugar. When he came to the north, he saw that they were somehow organized, and the Fulani had already conquered the Hausa people. Sorry I make references to this, but it's just to help us understand. I feel the pain and also the part of the west, Ilorin especially. So they had already a system of taxation in the region. So it made it easier for the British people, who even fine-tuned it, raised it up, took the stake higher to get even more money. So the British found out that they spent less in administration in the northern region than in the south, where nobody paid anybody tax because everybody believed they were equal. And so you see, they had to wipe off the chiefs first, or the elders first, those who resisted them. You remember, things fell apart, how Okonkwo was defeated. That is not far, it's not far from what happened in our regions. They instituted their own chiefs. So people became saboteurs in the wrong run. They tested power under the British system and they wouldn't let go. And you know the way it is in the northern region, when the emirs were receiving tributes and taxes and then paying to the Sultan of Sokoto, who is the leader overall of all of the Fulanis and all the Muslims, under the control of the Fulani, of course. Abateke, you know, when you say abateke, it means you eat, I eat. The emirs receive tributes and taxation and send something little from what they had. But don't underestimate that little because it was much. When the British came, they saw this thing was in place, they maximized it. And they chose these people because they know that these people have nothing else apart from their love to stay in power. They understood these people's history, that these people really have not no so much clue about who they really are. They have this identity crisis, and they have this tendency of trying to dominate everybody. And so they made sure they handed power over to them. Does not seem ironical to you that people who gave you Christianity, or let us not just say gave you, but people who preach Christianity to you, saying they are Christians themselves, supposedly so, took you and your destiny and your country and rigged in favor of the people in the north, lying to your faces that the number of people living in the desert were much bigger than the number of people living close to the sea. How ironical. The British people, how perfidious the thing they did. We all know this mess. We all know this story. But we need to keep reminding ourselves of it because it doesn't seem to be provoking enough reaction or response, better that way, enough response from us. We see many people want to continue with this. Haven't seen that in the last 100 years, it has led us to nowhere. In fact, it has made our lives miserable. It has given us the kind of disgrace in the whole world and the kind of indignity second to none. And yet we want to continue this road. So I understand when some people say we have only two groups of people in Nigeria, the elites and the poor masses. Just like we have also in the Fulani society. There are the elites who want these things to perpetuate these iniquity to the end of days. And those who genuinely, very few of them, but do they count? Yes, they do. But can they do anything? No, they cannot. And how are the Fulani accomplishing this things? With the help of even Christians. I remember, again, I use the Kaduna governor as an example. When he wanted to give license, that should be around 3 years ago, licenses for preaching. And they said always, because they always encapsulate it so that they hide it, so that you get confused. They say it's both for Christians and Muslims. How many Muslims do you see preaching outside or on the streets with the same deal that Christians use or employ? How many of them? Because before you know it, that when they go to the mosque and then they stay together, They will simply tell them, don't worry. No, it's just for these people. They are the target. Because when they instituted Sharia in 12 states in the north, without your consent, without even considering the fact that the number of Christians and Muslims could be somehow near to being in power, because most of the Easterners, the Biafrans, are also people found in these places, and they are the people who build churches, and they are the people sometimes who are also pastors and priests there. There are also all the other nationalities in the north also, and nobody considered us before instituting Sharia in the same country, with a supposedly supreme constitution guiding all of us. A fraudulent constitution, though. Notwithstanding how fraudulent the constitution is, it didn't give room for Sharia. But go to that constitution, you see Sharia mentioned more than the supreme constitution itself. And so we have two supreme constitutions in vogue, in operation in the same country. It's already a divided country. So who wants it together? Or rather, who continues to exclaim non-negotiable unity because it enables them to further their true intention of conquering everybody. And not only that they have become bold now in accepting what they want to do, but they also do it with impunity. You know, the massacre, the butchering of the woman in Anambra, in Uli, in Anambra, is a taboo, it's an abomination. The way the woman was massacred, with all her body parts scattered all over her farms. The number of rapes, the communities being waylaid at the night when they are sleeping, and people still have the guts to say that this is not a religious crisis, that it's about economy. Yeah, I understand you, but you got to see also the religious side of it. Because the British people who are actually behind these things, and for which the Fulani don't ask questions, sometimes, of course, why would they ask Christians? When you are eating, you don't talk, because it is favoring them. They know that these people are erratically fanatical when it comes to Islam, yet they are the most pretentious group of people, not living up to the standard. They are most corrupt, that they call other people corrupt. Just like we had it in Mali. The Dogon people are accusing them of stoking this issue. The Fulani are accusing the Dogon people of stoking this issue. The same way they try to continue to deceive us by saying farmers had the splashes. Where in the hell are the farmers getting the weapons? Nothing. But you see these people moving about, brandishing AK-47 without any recourse to anybody. They don't even care whether you catch them or not, because the next day, their police commissioner planted in your state will set them free. Once anybody dies, nobody begins the process or any investigation, nothing. But once one of them dies, everybody's talking about it. The papers have it, the police are working very smartly to take nothing away from the police anyway. But I tell you, the police has got a lot of things to do because they have massacred people. So sometimes I don't even care what you think. I'm only considering one or two individuals who might be good there. But when in the mainland, a lot of people were murdered during the lockdown, you are meant to protect these people, no? Let us not deviate anyway. Let us not digress. Let us see more so that you get to understand why some people really want this country together by any means necessary, even if it means killing people to maintain the status quo. Listen to this Buhari declaration.
Nigeria's unity is settled and not negotiable. We shall not allow irresponsible elements to start trouble, and when things get bad, they run away and settle others with the responsibility of bringing back order, if necessary, with their blood. Every Nigerian has the right to live and pursue his business anywhere in Nigeria without let or hindrance. I believe the very vast majority of Nigerians share this view. This is not to deny that there are legitimate concerns. Every group has a grievance.
So this is exactly the problem. They say every group has their grievance. They talk about unity. It's just like talking about Islam as a religion of peace. When you study Islam and see the things that are written not only in their Quran, but also in the book of the prophets, the Hadith, especially that of Bukhari, and you begin to question. No wonder every year people are organizing debates on whether Islam is a religion of peace or not. When after 100 years, Nigeria is still emphasizing non-negotiable unity, negotiable, and all that is settled. How is it settled? I remember it was this common sense senator, Bruce, that answered to this. Even though he was also afraid, he was trying not to offend anybody. So he was making a lot of comparisons, and he tried to compare people. This is where I am always upset. People who have the right, he says every Nigerian, the president says every Nigerian has the right to live anywhere and pursue his business. But the other thing, they also refuse to recognize, and everybody tried, but the media seems to play it down, that Nigerians have the right to self-determination, the fundamental human right to say, I want to live my life. You say you have the right to pursue your business everywhere. Well, I tell you, he is not saying this to your favor, especially. He's saying this because they already have a plan in place to place Fulani. This was in 2019, to push them into the hinterlands, to live in the bushes in your community. That's why they continue to emphasize anywhere, even when the land belongs to you. They are not saying it because of you. So that's why they always try to play down that part of that Nigerians, that the people who are found in Nigeria, have fundamental rights to say, we want self-determination. They don't want to say it every time they say it is not in the Constitution, but it is there. It is there. And by the way, it is still a fraudulent Constitution because the people never discussed it. The people never talked about it. But how can you be living in a country where you have never discussed the country? And you notice this trend. It's just like every time we talk about Biafra, every time the tempo and the push for Biafra gets high, when the tempo gets high, when it increases, people start talking about other republics. First of all, people talk about Oduduwa. Fine, I love it. I have no problem absolutely with the West. They are my friends. But why is it that it is only when people talk about Biafra that they also start talking about it? And when people talk about Biafra also, then people start talking about restructuring. And all the other stupid and disgraceful names that people give it, very funny names, to show you that it's just a way to be viewed. It's just like the work of the evil one, Satan. Imitation, imitation, imitation until the original fades. This is what they do. But I tell you, if you are in the struggle for Biafra, for Christian freedom, listen, do not be distracted by all this noise. They are not coming from genuine places. They are not coming from an honest background. They are not coming from solid convictions. So you don't listen to them. They will get tired. You will not, because God is with you. You will continue to move like Mount Zion. You will continue to stand. These people trust in deception and on people. But we trust in God. And that's why the difference will be very clear. We will continue to remain. They will continue to spend money and spend energy. We can only continue to spend energy. But it's coming from self-conviction. And that is why we are going to get Biafra. So hang on and keep on keeping on. Push until something happens. Continue to pray, continue to work. Don't be distracted or despair. There is hope. No matter how long it takes, Biafra is going to come. It's a surety. It's a guarantee. With God on our side, unless God does not exist, Biafra is coming. It is here. It is not going anywhere. So when you listen to people who are talking trash right now, the construction, the structuring, what happened to Abu Yakut? We would have not been in this mess. We would have at least by now corrected some of these mess the British people did to us, because they are the people pulling these strings. And the Fulani are willing tools. They are the secret agents of the British people in Nigeria. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't know it, because there is something fundamentally wrong with them that they don't know. You heard it from that man, unless he is also trying to deceive himself. But that one, it's just some occasions that you call moments of truth. They say these things without even meaning to say it. They know there is something wrong with them, because everybody's like fighting them. Or rather, they are fighting everybody. It's a problem they have with everywhere. They know it. So it must be either a curse or a fundamental issue, and a great one at that, because people die and communities are sacked. In Nigeria, they succeeded in two places. The whole kingdom massacred, subjugated, taken over, and then also part of the West. So now they failed in Central African Republic, perhaps. They failed in Burkina Faso, or so it appears. They failed in Mali, because the things you see always are people who are fighting back, and then the news gets out. But when they are fighting people, nobody talks about it so much. So you understand that they are well prepared in Nigeria. After all, they have the richest man in Africa, in Nigeria. And why would he really want Nigeria broken? Because it was Nigeria who gave him the leverage over other people. Do you think he is savvier than other business people? People had to be subjugated, thrown away, destroyed businesses so that he will rise. And deliberately so. He has no competition in cement. They destroyed Ubeto. There is no Ashaka cement now. In Calago, there is nothing like that anymore. So it is just him, Dangote. He is moving. And you cannot understand what his silence in national affairs. And yet they honor him. His silence is so disturbing, so that he cannot simply deny himself. No, he does not, because even now he is becoming more entangled. He is coming out even bolder, more than before. His trucks were being used to transport militias down to the south and the east. And they try to hide it. They try to hide it. Why is only Lagos working? And why did he have to locate the refinery he was building down to the west? So you see, people are still being used as pawn. Just like Usman Dan Fodio used the local Hausa people and some of the Yoruba people to conquer their own people. What about you, Christian? Are you being used also to destroy Christians? By first of all, you deny that there is no religious crisis, there is no Christian persecution, because now you have been able to buy a house in America or in London. Your bank account is very fat. So many people rely on you and calling you Big Daddy. So many people are calling you Papa, Daddy, because you are now giving money. You are key to their lives now. You hold the key to their lives, or so you dream, you think in your widest imagination. Can you really hold people's loyalty with money? This is the difference between people who want Biafra and people genuinely, and people who are doing stupid things underneath, looking for other things, chasing shadows when our mothers are being raped and our daughters are being kidnapped, taken away from their children and their families, and taken away to be never to be seen, maybe used for rituals and other so many purposes we do not know. And you are more interested in people, the way people convey their message to you, than what's happening, the profanity taking place in your land, the taboo, the atrocious events there. The number of corpses falling every day. Something is wrong with you. You got to address yourself, my friend. Now you ask, supposing Nigeria ends today, what do you think? Do you think Dangote will still remain the richest man in Africa? No, that's why he is supplying with his silence and with his materials too. He's giving them tacit, not only tacit support, but evidently we have seen that the support is more than tacit, it's also in kind. And if we saw only the truck transporting people, how much more could be happening behind our backs and behind the scene? So let's listen to this. Let me tell you, it is not just about oil, but listen, this one could just be, you could say this is about oil, but eventually you will see it is not only about oil.
It's a controversial issue on the ownership of the nation's crude oil domiciled majorly in the Niger Delta. According to him, it's wrong for any state to claim that it's oil producing because 72% of the total landmass in the country belong to the North, and that by the United Nations law, it's only the North that actually has the right to claim ownership.
There is no oil producing state. The only oil producing state is the Nigerian state itself. Because the oil investment came from the Nigerian state, the territory belongs to the Nigerian state, and whatever mileage you get in the sea, according to the United Nations law of the sea, is a measure of the landmass that you have. That is what gives you the mileage into the sea. If you have a small landmass, you get a small cut of the sea. And the landmass of this country, we know, that gives us that long 200 miles or nautical miles or more into the ocean, is because of that 72% of the landmass of this country, which is the North. So what they claim is the offshore oil is actually the oil of the North.
So you understand this now. You think it's just about only oil, but in actual fact, it's not simply about oil. The fact is, they understand that they have tried to take a country in all parts of Africa, and they have failed. And when they came to Nigeria, they are counting on their past successes. One is the conquering of Sokoto and every other place, the Hausa land, and taking over the place. And part of Ilorin, part of the West, Ilorin especially. And they are counting on these successes. If they used the local houses and local Yorubas, these were their fellow Muslims sometimes. They destroyed some of these people. What do you think they will do to you Christians who have stubbornly refused to convert to Islam? And where have you ever heard that Islam persuaded anybody to be converted? With all the discrepancies in Islam, Islam cannot withstand the amount of question and scrutiny the Bible has withstood. No, Islam cannot do that. There are at least up to 26 versions of the Quran itself. Many Muslims don't even know this. Versions of the Quran. And so sometimes you see bad translations and all that. They believe that Quran has been untarnished, preserved by God himself. But so many of them don't even know there are up to 26 versions of the Quran in the world, walking, moving around. People are using it in operation every day. They don't know. When you ask them now, they go back to this mantra that the word of God has been preserved, untarnished, and all that, and all by mysterious means, like many of their scholars do. And they don't want to hear this. This is why I continue to tell Christians, ask Christians about your faith. And don't get offended when people ask Christians about your faith. It is your job, it is your duty and responsibility to go and know better about your faith. Because that's why, for example, many people have accepted this fact that Jesus was a white man. But he is not. He is neither European nor is he American. We say this again. He was from the Middle East. And when you look at the Middle East, it looks more African than even European in any way. And if you say they are also of a fair complexion, but check also the people of Egypt, the ancient Egyptians. They were black. This has been proven by African scientists, of course, because sometimes European scientists, in most cases, they don't want to hear it. And they continue to doubt when Africans prove their own history and lineage. In fact, they have even said that the ancient Egyptians had more in common with white Europeans than Africans. How ridiculous. Very lugubrious assertions. And that is why we must tell our own stories. We must also tell our own history. Why does the Fulani not want history taught in Nigeria? Because people will learn about the connections they have to one another and how the Fulani came in as guests. That's why they're in the minority. But now they have used other people, always using this mantra of corruption and purification, pretentious that they are sanctimonious, that they are holy people, incorruptible. What the hell? And you fall for it all the time. And now they have even gone deeper into voodoo and started manipulating everybody. Of course, with the backing, full backing of the British people. How can they not? I remember all these oil companies. Okay, you had this revelation that, come on, when are we going to learn? They say no subsidy, and then all of a sudden they say subsidy. They use the same subsidy that to accuse a Christian president and tarnish his image before the world and before Nigerians, and we all fell for it. Did we? Not. We did. Because you never knew anything about politics. Now you know, and now they tell you, with impunity, they increase the prices of petrol products and decrease it when they like, whenever they choose. How they like it, they do it. They don't care what you think. You make noise, 2 days, you go and sleep. And you revert back to your comedies and your Premier Leagues. And that's the end of it. And they know exactly this is what you are going to do. And they continue to play this game. Toying with your lives. Because for them, they hold the switch. They put it off and put it on when they like. And you willingly consent to this evil. Okay, even if you don't love yourself, what about your family? Don't you love your family too? Now, let's go to this. So you can understand now why when in 2019, December 2019, Muhammadu Buhari promised Africans visa on arrival. And he says, Nigeria says it will give all African travelers visas on arrival from January, dropping the requirement that they apply in advance. You see, they are getting bolder and bolder. Bolder and bolder. Look at this. He has kept Nigeria's borders with all its neighbors closed since August, making it impossible for businesses to do cross-border trade by road. But we know this is a complete sham. We know it is a lie. It didn't happen because we know that the northern borders were all open. The bandits, there are many terrorist groups there. Their supply of arms were never cut off. They continue to massacre people. Perhaps they killed some people in Chad Republic that they shouldn't have killed, and the president of Chad got so annoyed and angry and retaliated. And now the business continues. The business is continuing. The next time they came and massacred up to 80 people, I'll be 70 people in Bornu, and nothing happens till today. Till today. Who is supplying them? How are the bandits coming in? How are foreign Fulani herdsmen coming in? If the claim of the supposedly absentee president should be sustained. Foreign fighters are coming in. The people who were dismissed from the mercenaries fighting in Libya with their AK-47. If we should sustain that argument, how are they coming into Nigeria? And the proliferation of arms, how is that happening? When you claim to have closed the borders, and then you say you give them visas on arrival. And some people have already claimed in many instances that there are instances of people coming in and then applying for the national identity card, and they are given there on spot without anybody doing anything about it. It's so easy to obtain Nigerian identity card. So easy to enter Nigeria and become a Nigerian. Because there are scanty records. The Accountant General's office was burnt down, INEC office burned. So many places, was the season of burning down. And while they are burning these offices, looting money, they are also burning down your economy. The shops, the business malls and everything. Because there are no fire services close to markets. Very absurd kind of things you see in this evil called Nigeria. We are no longer even talking or counting the number of Christians that are murdered and non-Christians, but people who are not Muslims, murdered in our communities, our flesh and our blood. And you are not angry. Earlier, when people were shouting, Fulani herdsmen, you say, no, it cannot be Fulani herdsmen. Now it has been established it is Fulani herdsmen. What do you do? What would you do now? What will you do now? Earlier it was he's nepotistic, he's always he's tribalistic, this nepotism has no part two. You say no, he's looking for the best. And now it has been established, because it is now touching you, that he is really this thing. Tribalistic, not only that, he's fanatic, he's a fanatic, he's a radical. In fact, it seems he's also sponsoring the terrorists. How many terrorist groups do we have in Nigeria? We have bandits, the one they call bandits. We have Daesh, we have Boko Haram, we have Ansar, we have Iswa. How the heck? We have now, not now, we have always had them, but now they have been weaponized and armed to the teeth. The Fulani herdsmen, who is their foot soldiers. And always, it was always about cows. People were asking, where are the cows? Now you have seen the cows, what do you do? And now they have pushed you aside. What will you do now? It is these people are actually counting, the British people are counting on their cleverness. The British people are counting on their power of deception, on these their pretentious lies, to deceive every one of us, all the nationalities in the place, in order to subjugate us. And they too, in turn, are counting on our foolishness, on our petty jealousy and envy, and on our greed and ambitious, and all these kinds of avarice. We are so ambitious that we can sacrifice our brothers on the altar of our greed and what we want to become. People want to become governors. People want to become speakers of the House of Assembly. People want to become this and that, so that they are made for life. They enter in and loot, so that they can send their children overseas. You are the governor of a state, and your child is not in the state schooling. How can you convince me that you are building schools and you have good intentions for schools for the children there? Your child is in America. or in London, but you are the governor. You don't even trust in the things you're doing. And they are always counting on our petty jealousy of one another, on our despise of each other. That's what they count on. Now that you have seen the Fulani herdsmen, now that you know that these things, that you have seen the cows, you understand there are Fulani herdsmen causing this thing, what will you do now? Now that you know there is Christian persecution, what will you do now? So let us look at this. So when Muhammad Buhari mentioned those things, the Fulani immediately boldly told you that they don't need visas to enter Nigeria. And what is their reason? He says, the national president, and this man, I wonder why he has not been arrested. He's always there putting a face to their threats and their plans. And yet nobody seems to arrest him. He seems to be living above God and above the law. National president of Miyetti Allah, Kautal Hore, Abdullahi Bello Bodejo, has explained why Fulani herdsmen in other countries don't need a visa to enter Nigeria. Can you imagine? Bodejo disclosed that Fulani herdsmen are the largest ethnic group in the world. Hence, need no visa to enter Nigeria because they are the largest ethnic group in the world. He made the remark in response to the federal government's entry visa policy was aimed at allowing herdsmen to gain unhindered entrance into Nigeria. The point about these people is that they don't even know how to lie sometimes. It's just that when you catch them lying, they own up to it and they explain to you why it is so. When they go back home and find out they have been very foolish with their response, they come back and deny it. And then they go to the internet and wipe out. They pay heavily. So you see now why they need to be looting. They pay heavily to the social media people to remove most of the places where they have said this thing, so that when you come back making your researches, you will not find it. Instead, you will find only where they are denying that they didn't say it or that they didn't do something. But to find the places they did something, in many cases, they pay for the internet to bring it down. They are masters in this craft. You can't beat them. Now, they want Nigeria to be perpetually in darkness so that they continue to propagate what they are doing. You can understand this because they are living a very easy life. That's why they are inviting this call you see that the Muhammad Buhari made. Don't be surprised. That call was actually made, before I show you that call was made. It was a kind of call. You don't expect them to sound the war cry and make it so obvious. But that call was exactly made for their brothers and sisters all over the Sahel and all over the region to come together and possess this land. That they have failed to take grip on every other places, but this one seems to be destined for them. You are destined for them. That's exactly what they are telling you here. This call that they need no visa to come into Nigeria is like an invitation to their people. It's like a signal to their people to come in. And a few days after that, we began seeing, before even then, we are seeing the deluge of people coming into Nigeria. The crowd, the throng of people entering into Nigeria through the northern borders without crimes. And yet, someone is manning the borders. Do you now understand why they are always the chief commander of the immigration agency? So, look at this. They may know it is easy for them. So you can see this, the cutoff marks. It says how cutoff marks for Nigeria's unity schools may be destroying quality. It is not only quality. This is the problem I have with the journalists. In Maine, there are very bold and courageous journalists. But when you see some of these things, they try to make it sound nice. It shouldn't be nice because you are criticizing the government. You are constructively criticizing the government. You should be honest with them, at least. Don't fear for your lives. If you are saying it is one Nigeria, then be bold enough to say what you find in one Nigeria. Look at the full list of the cutoff marks of the 36 states and FCT in 2018 academic session will perplex any optimist in the unity arrangement, actually. This was in 2018, and it has not changed, though. It has not changed. Just look at Abia, 139, the same country. Adamawa, 62. Anambra, 139. Bauchi, 35. It's terrible. Benue, 1111. Borno, 45. All the Fulani states, they have the list of numbers. Now, look at this. Enugu, 134. Gombe, 58. And all the eastern countries, eastern states, they have the highest. Imo, 138. Anambra, 139. Imo has 138, while Jigawa has 44, in the same country. And they are eating the same food from the same land, is it not? Kano has 67. Now, in Kebbi, should even be very scandalous. Kebbi 9 for males, 20 for females. It's all right. If you think this is all right, then you are one of the problems. You have become one of the pawns. In Niger State, it is 93. And in Sokoto, which is the caliphate itself. Shouldn't the caliphate lead by example? Sokoto for males, it is 9, and for females, it is 13. In Taraba, where Fulanis are also found, they are male 3, 11 female. So this thing about the Fulani Christians taking possession of Taraba. Always they are the ones being governors there. Nobody gets there apart from them. Yobe is 2, and the male for males and 27 for females. And Zamfara, the head of the Sharia states, is 4 for males and 2 for females. Okay, and we are all one Nigeria. This should tell you that they have found the treasure island. So they are not willing to let go. Because with this, even if oil goes away, there is no more economy and it's no more attractive tomorrow. They are in places of power. So with this quota system that you have seen, the cutoff marks, they enter into university and all that, even when they are not qualified, you are now not surprised. The governor, the president has no certificate. The chief judge of the federation has no certificate. I'm sure if we go also to start checking even the attorney general and other people in power, you'll find out that all their certificates are forged because they live on forgery. Just like an erstwhile Minister of Finance. And now, you see these things, we sacrifice competence at the altar, not even of mediocrity, but complete incompetence and ignorance. I remember I think it was last year that Peter Obi was raising a land that in a particular state, there was no candidate for examination, or maybe only 2 candidates. I've forgotten the story, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to convey here. So why would they like to relinquish Nigeria? Relinquish power in Nigeria? Why would they like to let go? No, they would not like it. When oil disperses, when oil disappears, and the economy of oil goes down, they will be in the place of power. When production will drive the economy, they will be there to control it. And you will be doing the work, like you are working like donkeys and horses now for them, and they are the ones start telling you about how to spend the money. When you listen to the way they give account of money, the other time it was this Minister of Humanity Affairs, or what, the woman, Farouk Umar. You see the way she's talking carelessly, larger than life. You can do me nothing. Okay, if I tell you that the money is gone, what will you do? That's the kind of air and the kind of impression you get. And the other one that was talking about production of kilishi after 33 years of funding, billions of naira gone. And the other one that was saying the other time, being queried by the committee of the National Assembly, that they were telling him that, did you even go through this account? And he said, it is my fault now. And they were saying, no, it's not about owning his responsibility for it, but did you even go through this account? And now we have Festus Keyamo in the jobs they have. And they want to take charge of this, take control of this job. And then he was there telling them that some of the corruptions that he discovered in these events, and then they tried to hush him down and told him to come behind cameras to discuss these things. And when he refused, everywhere brought that. And I am using this medium to advise my dear brother, no matter how bad we might feel about you, you are still our brother for now. Be careful, because they were even dressing like a Fulani, just to belong, just to feel accepted. You don't force yourself on people who don't love you, on people who don't see you as equal, but as a pawn to destroy your own people. Now you see, before you know it, they will make plots. They will plot now to bring you down. Run away before it is late. Be careful. We are praying for you, but God helps people who help themselves. If you don't take care now, they will disgrace you and harm you. So dear Festus Keyamo, be careful. So long as you are pursuing for one Nigeria, I am pleading with you. Rescind your decision and your stance. There is no gain in that pursuit. Be careful, but we still love you. You know it. So, that's for my brother Festus Keyamo. And meanwhile, you see these people who caused this problem, who rejected restructuring. Obasanjo is talking about restructuring now, because the tempo, the crescendo of Biafra struggle and Biafra cry is going higher. And they are talking about restructuring. Some pastors are talking about reconstruction. And so all that foolishness. Now listen to the people who rejected the first ever beautiful and greatest restructuring that ever took place in Nigeria, the Aburi Accord. Listen to what he's now saying.
It belongs to you. You are the one responsible for peace. And I can assure you, I'm here to pray for the peace of this country and to pray to God to touch the heart of each and every one of us so that we can be able to achieve peace in Nigeria. I can assure you everything is being done quietly without much noise to try and achieve that peace in Nigeria by talking to various groups in order to achieve that peace. So pray for peace and act for peace.
So you see, he is busy praying for peace. The peace he took away by his peacing on truth. He took the peace away. And now, you understand, the Bible is not even lying. There is no peace for the wicked. Isaiah 48, I think, verse 22. There is no peace for the wicked. How can there be? And now he's running around talking about peace. When you hear them talking like this, that he is praying, or like Obasanjo, they are only going there to request from their Fulani masters, are we still in this game or not? Have we been rejected? Have we been replaced? That's the kind of thing they are doing. So when you hear they're talking about peace, it's about maybe their license is being, it's about being withdrawn. Their oil license is about being withdrawn. They are being trying to be taken away. Their mouth is being withdrawn from the feeding bottle, and they are talking about peace now. The peace which you never gave. With all the promises made, nothing happened in the East. Nothing. No effort to reconciliation. All the hours we talked about, no reconstruction. Now today, with the British also behind, everything is going for the North. The North, the North, the North. You see why you must join in the struggle for freedom, convinced about it, that God is with us. Because so long as it is going like this, Europeans will continue to make use of our resources and our monies to go on holidays while you always sweating, and in the midst of your sweating, in the course of your working too hard to survive daily, you will die a horrible death. And nobody cares. Life goes on because you don't matter. Because you are not free, you are a slave. You were never free. Independence is not the same thing as liberty. Independence, a nominal independence, a country never discussed by you, and yet the laws are forced on you, whether you like it or not. People say, we the people. And in 2014, Jonathan made another attempt at another restructuring. And it's all fair. It's all fair. Even though he did it a little bit late, he could have begun that and immediately entered into power. But we all know that it is a construct of the British Empire. How would they allow him? How would the Fulani allow him? Immediately Jonathan entered, it was like a buha. It was like a madhouse. The Boko Haram began. And the North was defending the Boko Haram. With all their might, they were saying all kinds of things. If you touch them, you are touching our brothers. If you do this, you are against the North, and all that. Today, it has become one big child, bigger than their parents. Because they are still controlling, but these people now have a lot of power. You know, when you have power over the men handed over to you, like it happened with Afonja and Alimi, like it happened with the Hausa kings and their people. They lost power because they were presupposing that they were still with their people when they didn't know they had disconnected from their people long time ago. The same thing I say to the elders in Biafra. You might be thinking, and even leaders of the church, you might be thinking that the people are still with you. I am a priest. I am a priest, but I'm telling you this. You think you are still with your people. But like some of our people used to say in some of these business young men in Lagos, if you are not talking money, you are talking nonsense. You might be thinking you are still with the people. If you are not talking about the breakup of Nigeria, to them, you are talking trash. And why it is even nice and important that we talk about is because it is the right course of action. It is not just because we are talking nonsense because it is for nonsense sake. No, because it is the right course of action, it is the right thing to do. People say it is not a guarantee to Christian persecution. People say that Christianity is about persecution. What about the people, the Christians living in America or Europe and everything? You see, they are also suffering their own form of Christian persecution. Yes, but this one is preventable. This one is not the will of God. It's only the will of God to the extent that God can use it. That if you call upon God, and for how many years have we been calling him, using Nigeria, and he knows Nigeria is fraudulent. Now, when we say, okay, this is the problem, Nigeria is the problem, we throw it away and then we talk about ourselves, our very own names that God gave to us, our own nations that God gave to us, all the indigenous peoples. Let's go back to it and see what will happen. We have tried all of the other ones. Let us talk about this one and see what will happen. If you can boldly say, we keep watching and see what will happen. Now let us try this one. Support this call. Don't be deceiving yourself when you say, it is not the problem. Now you know that this is the problem. You start picking quarrels with people who have been saying it all along. Why are you so offended that they are saying it? And now you say the way they are saying it is not right. What is wrong with you? The way they are going about it is not right. Somebody will bring your own, please. This is no time for saying this is the way you are not saying it. But they have been the ones shouting that this is the way it is. Now that you have seen that this is the situation, and you are now saying this, the way they are saying it is not the right way. How do you, don't you know, for example, there was this farmer, I think it was a Chinese farmer, even though I don't like talking about it now, or in Thailand or something like that, that burnt his rice farm in order to save his people when he saw a tsunami coming their own way. But he was staying, his own farm was located on the hill, on a higher level of the land, more than his own people. When he saw what was coming, he knew that the only way to save them was to burn his own rice farm. And that's exactly what he did. And people, when we are rushing there to go and help him to salvage his farm, and then when they looked back, they saw what was actually meant for them, the danger they could have faced. Now people were shouting their heads off, still shouting. The only thing you are picking, you didn't hear that a woman has been raped, and the culprit says he only did one round. He didn't hurt you, he didn't disgust you, he didn't enrage you. The only thing you are interested in is that he insulted you. And this is what we will be confined to all our days if we do not take some actions now, decidedly and together. This is what we all will resort to, and it will never end.
Nigeria is not a Fulani republic. Let every devil be concerned. And we never become one. We didn't sign a deal to live together as a Fulani republic. Anybody that carries that thought and wants to implement it, the power of God will bring them down. Now in Nigeria, cows are more valuable than human life. Now, authority claims they have not found anybody to claim responsibility when it was announced. Jesus, every manipulator behind this killing, the Lord brings them down. Now, do you pray for witches or against witches? Do you pray for armed robbers or against armed robbers? Know what to pray against. The present system must be prayed against. And God will bring them down.
So, on that note, we're about to conclude this. The question is, do you pray for witches or against witches? Against wizards or against wizards? Where do you pray? For who and against who? Is that the present system must be prayed against? And the present system is a British system. A British system of exploiting Africans, of exploiting the nations locked together against their will, involuntarily in Nigeria. If you want to talk about the system, it is this Nigeria. It is a system favoring the Fulani and the British people and the Europeans in general. If you want to talk about bringing the system down, praying against it, that's exactly what you should pray. Do not talk about Nigeria's democracy. So long as you continue to add Nigeria there, your prayer is rubbish. You will be confined to shouting amen, and you will be exterminated, wiped off the face of the earth. Be wise. Be wise. He says it's not a Fulani republic. But so long as you retain the name Nigeria and the structure Nigeria, it will remain a Fulani republic unless we all together reject it today. I am Father Kachukwu Okafo, and I remain your brother, fellow Biafran and fellow Christian. God bless you. Please remember to share this message. You will save lives today. Let us continue to pray. Not the same. We believe in God Almighty. We have faith, and we pray exactly like Jesus taught us to pray, because we are Christians. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, Lord. We have sinned against you. Maybe we are suffering because of it. Remember to give us what we need every day, Lord, because you are God rich in mercy, full of forgiveness, and kindness is your name. Please overlook our sins and provide for our hungry brothers and sisters. Death is in the land, hunger is everywhere. The government doesn't care about us. They would rather care to make us slaves than the land that you have blessed us with. May your kingdom reign, Lord. Help us to forgive one another, and help us to be converted to you so that we don't offend one another all the more. Deliver us from every temptation, Lord. Do not let temptations bigger than us to come our way, and give us the grace to conquer the ones that come our way. Deliver us from the present evil that we are facing, the Fulani threat, the Islamization threat, the conquest of our land. We are surrounded, Lord. Deliver us from this evil, because you are God Almighty, and we belong to you specially. We are your children, the children of light. We do not hate anybody, but we are being pushed to hate people. Please help us by saving us from this devil. Our enemies don't believe in you. They trust in their own power and in their own deception. Both those using them, the British people. We are praying that all of them, the way you conquered armies without raising a finger, Lord, please conquer them for us and let them leave us alone. We have no ambition of conquering anybody or subjugating anybody. Let them be conquered so that they leave. Let this be known that you are the one that did it. Let them leave us alone. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory. Let Biafra come so that your glory will be made manifest here on earth, and your light will shine in our land forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. God bless you, and see you soon.